that, I would like to convey my gratitude to the organizer of this workshop, especially Dr. Sriram, who did a lot of efforts since last more than a few months. He's working hard and for designing this workshop. Make this workshop a more meaningful, fruitful, identifying a resource person. He did a lot of hard work behind this, since last 2 to 3 months. And special thank to the all authority of Thapar University, especially Dr. Seema Baba and Dr. Vinay for contributing, helping, guiding for the workshop. And special thanks to Director of Thapar University for giving us this opportunity. We are all together learning from each other. And this is a great and pride moment for me to host, to moderate this session, though speaker of this workshop, this particular session, Dr. Usha Munshi, hardly need an introduction because since many decades we are very much in getting a lot of insight from her, and she's very known senior most professional. She's known as a trainer, author, motivational speakers, and a source of many young librarians. And like me, I always considered her as my mentor. So it's a great pride, this special great pride and honor for me to coordinate this session with Dr. Usha Munshi, Usha ma'am. Usha ma'am, she's going to deliver a talk on open access publishing and role of librarian, basically. How this there is a different kind of publishing models are available in the publishing world, and is a hardly need to understand. Is a really need to understand that how these different publishing models and how we as a librarian can help our fraternity to understand the complexities involved in the publishing world. And this open access publishing, like in a gold publishing or green publishing, and it's very important to understand all these things, and especially that kind of benefits, because you're publishing, after publishing your research output, that should be available, and in case your publication is available in the public domain and accessible more and more, visible more and more, that means your research is getting more citation and more impact of that research. So let me introduce our speaker of the session, Dr. Usha Munshi, formally. That she's a Fulbright scholar and working as a chief librarian right now presently with the Indian Institute of Center. And prior to IIC, she has served in IAPA, INSA, and many other prestigious institutions like in ISDOC. And she's published more than 100 research papers, conference and proceedings, and she had contributed books which is been released by Vice President of India, and many more things. And in case I'm going through this, word by word of this particular, CV, probably that's the next 1.5 hours will not enough to introduce Dr. Usha Munshi. So I'll request Dr. Usha Munshi to please enlighten us on this particular workshop on this important topic on open access publishing. Though she's talking long on open data, open access, open science. So thank you very much, madam, for accepting our invitation. And now session hand over to you.
Yeah. Very good morning to all of you. It is indeed my privilege and pleasure to be here, and I thank Dr. Kataria in particular and Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology for inviting me to this very well organized webinar. Well, as Dr. Sanjay said, that I'm going to speak on the open access publishing and what is the role of the librarian in this. Now, permit me to share the screen.
You can,
yeah.
Yeah, you can share.
Okay.
Share a screen on green button.
Share screen. Yeah, I'm sharing screen on green button, and this is one. Are you able to see my presentation?
No.
No. Just a second. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. Now share host. You have disabled my screen sharing actually. Host has disabled my screen share. Yeah. Please enable.
Just try it.
Yeah, now I will try. Okay. Yes. Share.
Yeah, it's coming. It's
Yeah,
coming.
it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, as I said, you know, this open access publishing has been there for you know now decades together. You know, India has also taken part in this open access movement in a very vibrant and active manner. And during the course of my presentation, I'll share with the participants some of those anecdotes that we have, the India as a country has contributed for in this movement to the rest of the world. Now, when we talk about, you know, I have two parts of my presentation. The first is that I'm going to share with you the background that will present a storyline for the role of librarians in this open access movement, how they will contribute substantially to this movement, you know, to the open access publishing. So my first part is providing the background to that role, and the role will be explicit when I speak about this background. Now, when we talk about the scholarly credit, and all of us, be it professionals or the researchers or people who are actively contributing to the scholarly research landscape, it is publications, 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 and publications all through that we talk about. And of course, because we talk about the institutional profiling, we talk about the national institutional ranking. Now, other things that have become part of this scholarly credit is, besides publications, is awards and honors, the grants, the teaching, how much teaching you have done, the services, if you have worked on the projects, research projects, what kind of role you have played there in those projects, and finally the data which has become the new you know, oil for the scholarly community actually. So with this, that is the road to the good credit you know, for the scholarly communications. Now, having said that, this scholarly communication is indeed a crucial part of the research, right? You don't, you know, do research without publishing your research results. Therefore, it's a very integral part of your scholarly communications. And how do you communicate? You communicate primarily through the journals, because they carry a lot of weightage when you publish through the scholarly journals. Therefore, these journals are the carriers of the scholarly knowledge. And what do you do is, by communicating, is that you make your research results available to the general public, and that aids the researchers with latest information and also helps them to further you know, furtherance of their research activity. What do they do with this is they create, using this background knowledge, they create new knowledge and pump that new knowledge into the research scholarly research landscape. Now, having said so, what the you know process of this scholarly publication was? One was that your traditional process of publishing, which we have been using for almost a century now, you know, the print only. Okay, but most popular journals were published. You know, as you know, that even if when we publish, we try to favor that what is the best international journal where I can publish, and of course they are from the developing world, but nevertheless we have also seen from the innovatively developing countries or the developing countries a lot of good journals on humanity, so we should not ignore them. You know, if you respect your own resources, I think world will respect us equally. They will reciprocate. But most of these journals had a commercial interest. But with this movement, open access movement, there is an alternate solution which is called open access. And most of these journals, besides the commercial publishers, the academic and professional societies like Indian National Science Academy, Indian Academy of Sciences, ICMR, ICAR, and things like that have also been publishing these journals, and that was basically to maintain the quality of the research endeavors and also promote research that could percolate to the grassroots level. Now, these academic and professional societies of late, when I say the open access has become a new norm in the publishing industry, they have, while reading their copyright, they are also joining hands with the commercial publishers. For instance, if I, signing a MOU, what do they do is, if, for instance, Indian Academy of Sciences had joined hands with Springer Nature, which is powering the journals of all the 11 journals of Indian Academy of Sciences, but the copyright is within the Academy of Sciences. Similarly, when I was during my tenure at Indian Institute of Public Administration, we did signed MOU with SAGE, and the only of this kind journal, Indian Journal of Public Administration, is powered now by SAGE, while the IAP retains the copyright. Now, this open access has become a norm. Now, this is where we are going to focus today's discussion on. Now, the key aspects, because this is very, very important, the key aspects of this research communication is there are three things, where does the funding come from? Because when we do research, most of us do research in the publicly funded research organizations or the higher education institutions. There are three aspects that we need to tri-pronged approach that we need to take cognizance of. One is the major research funding, the R&D expenditure, and the research publication population per publication. Now, if you just look at this, the national investment, most of the major research funding organizations are the government, the central government, followed by the private sector, then the state government and the central government, right? And if you just look at the research population per publication, is you have 50 researchers, which is very, very low per lakh of population. And look at the population of India, the country like India, we have 15 researchers per lakh of population. We have, so far as publication is concerned, we have 1 lakh papers per year, which is not too low, but it's not too high. Just we contribute less than 3% to the world domain itself. And if you just look at the figures of the patents that we file, it is 45,000. It's 1/10 of the other countries in the Asian region. Now, higher education institutions aren't funding that much of research, and that's not our point of discussion today. Therefore, I'm not going to, take more time on that. Now, these research communication, there are certain infirmities. What are those infirmities? What is important here is, what is important, what is the whole moot idea of open access is that it has to be your research results have to be accessible. They have to be transparent to the end user. They have to be have a factor, a reliability factor. The quality should be there, because if you understand, those of you who have kind of gone through the PLOS, Public Library of Science, their journals, their the initial pool of scientists were most of them, at least 6 of them I know. When I was in INSA, we worked with them, with Nobel laureates. So they have created that PLOS, and the PLOS is basically the PLOS journals are more stringently peer reviewed than the no other commercial journals, and their impact is very, very high. And we're going to talk about that also. Therefore, the quality is not compromised in open access. Inclusiveness. What do we mean by inclusiveness? It has to be, inclusive in nature. We cannot actually foster what used to be fostered earlier in a couple of decades down the road was information divide. Information you will have access to, you have your pockets are heavy. Okay, you won't be having access if a pockets are too tight. So it was that the buying power kind of a thing was there. Therefore, this factors inclusiveness and social relevance. And if you have, you know, some of you who must have actually heard the third mission, fulfilling third mission, it was United Nations, you know, kind of tagline. You have to fulfill social third mission, which is a social mission, where research that you produce have to have a component of it should go for the societal good. You're not doing just research for yourself. Unless it has got societal value, it has no value at all. Therefore, it has to be, you know, you have to fulfill social relevance also. This being the case, but what is happening right now today, I'm going to give another perspective, another picture of this. Here is the current academic and research ecosystem fosters publication of research output, which is good, but the focus of individuals and researchers and research organizations have shifted to, which is dangerous, is number of publications, citations, sensational findings, its validation by a close group of research community, and that is the infirmities that is happening in, you know, the research communication landscape. Now, having said that, open scholarly research ecosystem is a consolidation of many movements, right? It's open access, it's open data. Just have a look at this, you know, citizen-centric movements. They've all sought to address different facets of the crisis in science, social sciences and research community. Now, these key tenets of this OS environment is, as I said earlier, it's inclusiveness, collaboration. You can't work in an isolation, and universal access to this, right? Now, so open access movement is a key tenet of open science, where both scholarly research and data is accessible to everyone in society. You can't just say the scholarly research, just the, you know, the papers, the publications, but you also have to take cognizance along with it. The data that you collect for doing that particular research is also very, very important. Now, this OS system is, this is the schematic representation, and I'm going to talk about the open access to the research as well as to the data. Now, this open access, why did it emerge? It has emerged in response to the rising cost and to facilitate timely access to the resources. Okay, and to address crisis of epistemic injustice to scholarly community. What is that epistemic injustice is? Yes.
Sorry, can you adjust your mic, please, so that
yeah,
it become more clear?
Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it has emerged in response to the rising cost to facilitate timely access and sharing of research. You know, a crisis of epistemic injustice. What is that epistemic injustice is? When you are, you know, publishing your research results and you are paying for it, right? Because the public, you are using the public funds to do that research, and then you are again paying a price to access that. That was the epistemic injustice. So open access has been a call to control that epistemic injustice to the scholarly community. Now, there are two primary vehicles of this, and most of my fellow audience participants would know this. One is the OA journals, which perform peer review and then make the approved contents freely available. And second is OA archives or repositories, you know, which do not perform peer review, but simply make their contents freely available to the world. Now, these second group belongs to the institutions such as universities or laboratories or disciplines. Now, I'm going to make it more clear. These two schools of thought, one is the OA journals and other is the OA archives or repositories, belong to two schools of thought. One is the gold thought and gold route, and second is the green route. What is this gold route and green route is? Gold is when you choose a commercial journal, but which is an open access and domain, to publish your research results. The green route is that you publish your paper in a commercial journal, but at the same time you also upload this into institutional archives. That is the green route. Now, this enabling, if you could just look at what has enabled this, because I just wanted to share those of you who might have forgotten these initiatives, that what promoted the open access culture in the country or in the rest of the world, particularly in the country. In 2006, we had 93rd Indian Science Congress. And this Indian Science Congress recommended an optimal national OA policy, open access policy, to mandate research papers produced partially or fully through government funding to be deposited into IR, and suggested that government should commit to cover costs for publication in OA journal, that is the article processing, or APC that you call it. But I must remind you that in 2006, this was prior to this Indian Science Congress, and from INSA we had created an open access kind of event where we had given to the government of India 10 commandments that that they have to. One of this was that there has to be a corpus funding, central corpus funding for supporting the publishing in the open access journals, and we had recommended a some amount as a corpus funding, but that did not see the light of the day for quite a good number of years. So even now it's not been fully kind of implemented. The second was, if you remember, the National Knowledge Commission, which happened in its report in 2007, they have given a lot of emphasis on that sharing of research articles, allocating funds for digitization, and submitting in the open journal research results in the open access format and things like that. Now, what has happened is, after once these movements have caught up, soon various organizations, funding organizations, issued the OA mandates. What was that? That everything that they are producing out of the publicly funded using public funds should be put in the public domain, whether in open access journals or open access archives or institutional repositories. But thrust of these policies was basically on institutional repositories, and there was no financial support for APCs, which was somehow missing. It is still missing. Of course, there is some, some discussions on this, but it's still missing, which is very, very unfortunate, because when you look at, if you have seen, some of you have published papers in, very good peer-reviewed A category journals, you will see that the cost of publishing in open access journals or the hybrid journals ranges between $500 to $2,000. So how can a researcher afford to pay, even if he or she has to pay $500? It's a lot of money. They don't get that kind of, stipend or, what is called the additional charges to pay. If they have to use the entire funds that is given to them, that means they can just publish one paper. They can't attend any conference or workshop or things like that. So that's very unfortunate. I think APC has to be addressed. Now, along with this, why I am showing this is that this was an economic survey of Government of India in 2018 and 19. The Government of India at the central, level, at the federal level, is giving a lot of importance to the data. Also, it says it's it's a public good of the people, for the people, by the people. Therefore, the librarians as a profession don't have to even, kind of stop at the papers published in journals, but the data associated with those research is equally important to be managed, and I'm going to talk about that in a short time from now. Now, there are two more things. Some of you must have heard about it, some of you must have not heard about it. One is the Plan S, and another is the transformative journal publishing. These are two new components that we need to take cognizance of. One was Plan S. Plan S in 2019 February principal scientific advisor to Government of India, announced that India will join this Plan S. What is this Plan S? I'm going to talk. But it just got dropped like a hot potato within, and it fizzled out within few months of his, kind of announcement of going with Plan S. But today I'm saying that if India would have joined Plan S, have adopted Plan S, I think the most of the issues that are happening that are inherently, kind of deviating the active research publishing in active, scholarly research landscape would have got addressed by this. Why? And I'll just tell you in a short while from now, what is this? Now, Plan S was supported by, what is called a Coalition S, an international consortium of research funders with the support of the European Commission and the European Research Council. Now, Coalition S is an initiative to make full and immediate open access to research, publications, and reality. Okay, and it is, this Plan S has got one target, which is universal access to this information, and it's got 10 principles. If India would have used, adopted this, India would have been second country in the South.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, yes.
Ma'am, can you adjust your mic? I think so. Somehow you're
okay. It's okay now?
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this Plan S is an initiative of open access publishing, and it requires that from 2021 onwards, all publications that result from research funded by public grants must be published in compliant open access journals or platforms, or made immediately available through open access repositories without embargo. And let me just share with my friends here that when we were actually, talking about the open access to journals and institutional repositories, till now, before this Plan S was announced, we were actually having, publishers were changing colors, white, blue, green, yellow, or whatever, that you must be, from this, you must have seen these from the site, that they are changing colors, they are giving, there is an embargo period, you cannot put such and such article into, it's got green or blue or red or white, whatever color, whether you are, what is the embargo period after which you can put these articles in the institutional repositories. But within this Plan S, there is no embargo. The moment you are publishing it in open access journals, immediately this has to go, it has to be in the institutional repositories, and to end user, it should be immediately available. That is the beauty of Plan S. Now, these principles that, Plan S has got 10 principles, as I said, and I'm just going to share these principles with you, that it says that research should be only published in those journals and on platforms which enable authors to publish articles under a Creative Commons Attribution License, CC BY, CC Attribution Share Alike, or CC Public Domain licenses. All variants of Creative Commons Attribution License are applicable. It is up to you which attribution you choose. Now, authors should retain copyright. So, it is against that copyright goes to the publishers, commercial publishers. The third is, you have to have a solid, robust system for peer review as per the standards in the relevant research discipline. Another one is that have to be subsidies and waivers and article process charges, which is very, very important, because I know of cases where a researcher has to forego publishing in a hybrid or open access journal because he could not, arrange funds of $1,000 to pay as an article processing charge. Now, it does not, where currently, if you go see any of these commercial publishers, they do facilitate publishing in the open access journals, but they also say that either you can have the hybrid model. That means you can go online first and then also have in the print journal, which is a commercial journal. You have the hybrid models, but the Plan S totally says no to the hybrid model. It is only the open access model, right? There's no hybrid model. Okay, and now it also, which is very important, is that this plan prioritizes publishing in journals over institutional repositories. Earlier we were saying, no, you can have the gold route, you can have or the green route, or you can have both gold and the green route. Okay, but here it says you can't have open access repositories. It's not, kind of stopping you from there, but it says try to give more weightage to the open access journals rather than the institutional repositories. Publish as many as papers in open access journals rather than the institutional repositories, because sometimes the institutional repositories also have some sort of access embargo on the rest of the community in the world. Now, because it supports universal access to this. Now, the next issue that it says that the funding organizations is very important, and perhaps this could be one of the reasons that I think that we dropped this plan, adoption of the plan as like a hot potato, that with the funding organizations to pay for the article processing charges. And then finally, it says that all kinds of self-archiving platforms, including institutional repositories, should also meet certain registration requirements, because this is very important, registration requirements. Therefore, you have some sort of what we used to say earlier as the documentation control, bibliographic control. There is some sort of documentation so that we can track how many such repositories are in existence. Of course, there is such bibliographic control right now available in the form of the DOR, Directory of Open Access Repositories, or ROR, Registry of Open Access Repositories. But the thing is, it's very loosely, you are not bound to do that. But if you adapt Plan S, it is mandatory for you to go for some sort of registration. Having said that, let's move to the other. Of course, if you want to see, you can go to the www.coalition-principles-and-implementation. So you can see for yourselves more details about this. Now, the second is the transformative journal publishing. What is this transformative journal? It is, if you have seen, some of you who have accessed recently Springer Nature or April or things like that, you will just find, while Plan S is mostly for the organizations, the transformative journal publishing is primarily for the publishing houses. Whether they want or they don't want, they also have to be part of the open access regime now. They cannot sustain without that. So what is this transformative journal publishing is? It is accelerating a transition to open access. Now, transformative journal is on a path to open the roadmap, for fully open access journals. Now, it commits to proactively promote the benefits of OA to authors, while they can support any author who wishes to publish in the journal, regardless of their funding situation. And it's got several benefits. But I must tell you, share one incident recently. As I said, that I know a researcher who couldn't publish in a hybrid journal. If this transformative journal option was available, probably he would have been, his research would have found place in a very good journal without being taxed for paying heavy amounts as a article processing charges. So there are several benefits which I'm going to share with you. One is there would be increased researcher engagement, and most of my fellow librarians must know this, that there is such a facility and they can share with the researchers. Increased researcher engagement, open access enables access by anyone with an internet connection immediately on publishing. Higher visibility and greater impact, and I'm going to show you a live example of this. Plan as compliant, with requirement for open access, transparent results, retain copyright for your work using any Creative Commons license, any attribution by share alike or whatever. Author choice is they can choose between gold OA or subscription publication based on their preferences, funder or institutional requirements for OA, and availability of APC funding. So this is a lot more easier to put such kind of endeavors into practice for the benefit of both authors, researchers, scholarly community, and as well as the end users. Now, what is the impact of this before I go to the role of librarians? The impact of this enabling open access environment is that you have open access policies, resources, open source software, open licensing, a digital network. India was the first signatory to Berlin Declaration. So for those of you who don't know about this, is that, for instance, when I was, it was in 2002, the Berlin Declaration came in vogue. In 1999, while I was with inside the National Science Academy, we started publishing, all journals of Indian National Science Academy and put it in the public domain. Now, at that point in time, what was required was that we should charge for the online access. So somehow, being a librarian by heart and being someone who would like every user to have access to the requisite bit of information, I had actually made endeavors, constant endeavors, to request INSA management to facilitate free access to these. These were not OAI compliant. They were open access, but they were not OAI compliant because the protocols of OAI compliance had not come up by that time when I made this open access to the public. So I requested them that for 1 year we can give them free. What has Berlin Declaration done is that INSA signed Berlin Declaration in 2002, and because being signatory to the Berlin Declaration, they can never charge for their online version of their journals. Though their print versions are against subscription, but for online version, they cannot charge. That is the beauty of signing the Berlin Declaration, so they are promoting. Now, Delhi Declaration on Open Access also came. We actually wrote this declaration. Then CSR mandate on open access came, and that's why you will see all the NISCARE journals. They are not open access journals, but all the articles of those, all the 21 journals are available in the DSpace repository as an institutional for open to all the researchers. Now, DBT DST has come out with open access policy in December 2014. ICSR open access policy are there. Similarly, there is open data policies of Ministry of Science and Technology, which came way back in 2012. Department of Biotechnology brought out a policy in 2019 for biological and life sciences data. Similarly, there were for open educational resources. Enemy AICTE has adopted Creative Commons license, okay, for educational resources. And of course, there was MCIT, Government of India policy and adoption of open science software, Government of India, 2014. And the latest one is the Scientific Social Responsibility Policy, which was brought out by DST, Department of Science and Technology, as late as in September 2019. Now, this was the impact of this open access movement. If you look at the resources, open access in India, academies has set the ball rolling. Indian National Science Academy digitized all this in 1999. From 1934 to till date, all journals are available in public domain. They are open access, not OAI compliant. Indian Academy of Sciences, all 11 journals, Indian Medlar Center, Medno, more than 70, and Calicut Medical College journals, and things like that. Similarly, other resources like electronic thesis and dissertations, research, papers, sizable number of open access journals have come up, and number of government ministries and departments have adopted open access policies. Now, coming to the impact, continuing with the impact, therefore, as I said, OA repositories and journals, open data repositories and open educational repositories, open source software, open license, citizens and science networks have cropped up that are boosting the momentum. If you just look at the open directory of open access journals, you will find there are more than 570 Indian journals available on there. Of course, the number worldwide is in lakhs. But I must tell you one thing here. I must bring out, bring to the notice of all my professional fraternity, that a few years down the road, when I looked at UAG, because I'm constantly interacting with navigating the site, I found more than 1,300 Indian journals. Rather, the number had touched 1,700 Indian journals were there. But when this, question of predatory journals cropped up, surfed to the top, they just got dropped, like, as if they were non-existent. So what does this also signify? What does this signal is that it also brings transparency and reliability, and the quality factor is factored when you go open. Online open access is fostered. Of course, there are 96 in institutional repositories from India in directory of open access research. As of yesterday, the electronic thesis and dissertation database of Shodh Ganga had more than 2,100,000 dissertations in the open access. Similarly, in 2000, on say the 73rd Independence Day on 15th August 2019, Archive of India's first preprint service was launched. There are a number of open data repositories from India, and in of course, some of them are well known, some of them are not well known, but they provide millions and millions of data sets to the users to use for free and generate new knowledge. There are open educational resources available. But there is a shift to open source software, and many libraries are using open source software, and many journals are using OSS in India, and I'm going to talk about that also. And many at government level also, and institutional level also, many institutions are promoting use of open licenses, particularly Creative Commons licenses for the resources. Now, therefore, coming to the next slide is that when we talk about this open access publishing, therefore, it is free and unrestricted access to research literature. Authors retain copyright and they are acknowledged. It promotes research progress, maximizes research impact, and there are number of open e-publishing systems, digital publishing system, e-publishing toolkit, or open journal. But many of the organizations in India who are using this open source software, they're using OJS. For instance, journals like Open Access Journal of Medicinal and Aromatic Plants is using OJS. Journal of Tropical Agriculture, Listed Journal of Library Information Science, Technology, and other journals are using OJS. Now, let me just give you, when we say why publish open access, you should say why not publish open access, because we all agree on a common agenda that the research should be open to all as soon as it is published, so that it can be read, used, and built upon. Because you don't do research, you don't publish for your own sake. You publish that the others should be able to read, use, and acknowledge you, give you credit, because that credit is also valuable in the scholarly community domain, and they can build further new knowledge based on the research that you have conducted, and also avoid duplication of the research, which is very, very important in the research domain. Now, I'm going to actually talk to you about a very, very important aspect is metrics. Here, there's a budding researcher. I'll talk about this. When we talk of the OA articles, there are empirical studies. We say that these articles published in the open access domain are cited 1.6 times more. They are downloaded 4 times more. Their impact is increased to 2.5 times more. Now, I have a, when they say downloaded 4 times more, I think that it is more than that. If I tell you that I know a budding science researcher who's been doing research in a given domain, he published a paper in February of 2019 in one of the Sage journals. Okay, and this yesterday, because once he asked me that how do I take the alt metrics of my journal, because I as a librarian am should be aware of all this, that how do I assist my researchers. This researcher walks up to me and says, how do my professor has asked me to see the alt metrics of your article, because this is very, very important as part of your research endeavor. It's very, very important. Now, how do I do that? So I said, okay, you go to your article and just see. And it was on 10th of October he came to me, and I just saw that his paper has from February 2019 till 10th of October this year, he has received his ultimate article attention was 410. And yesterday when I was just saying that has it increased, because I knew that paper, and I checked that it has gone up to 438 views, public downloads. Was it possible to have such a kind of a visibility if it was only print? And would people have actually accessed a budding researcher's paper saying that whether it may be good or it's not good or it's average, if it was only in the print domain? It is the beauty of this online, and it is beauty of the open access environment, that somebody who hid his paper thought it was very good, referred to somebody else, and from 2019 February till October 2020, he has got 438 alt matrix or article matrix or alternate citations to his paper. So it is actually commendable. When he talked to his guide, he says it can't be possible. 1 year you will have 410, and that is possible. So I'm saying download is not only 4 times, it's more than 4 times, but on an average, empirical studies have calculated it's more than 4 times. So you could just talk on this to your researchers as well. Now, what is the role? That brings me to the next aspect of the role of librarians with this background. Now, why libraries should support open access? Giving this background, one is that you have to have sustainability of scholarly communication, and you are the one who are well positioned to manage knowledge budgets, right? Therefore, you are the one who can support with the scholarly communications more than, not only support, sustain more scholarly communications more than anybody else. You are also a vehicle to accelerate research, and for that you have to show interest in demonstrating that value that you are accelerating the research. Now this person, this researcher, whom I did not know otherwise, but who happened to walk into my room and ask about this, so it was my duty to inform him, and I'm going to give you more live examples in due course. Now the third is recognition of researcher, client-centered orientation. Now when you are doing this, say, I shared this example with you, you will share this example with many more researchers, and that would bring recognition to those researchers, because they will also be in the know-how of how do they measure, how do they become more visible in the scholarly research landscape. Now there are societal and civic impacts also, community engagement ethos, and I'm going to focus on this a little later. Now, the second is, how do you support, what is your role in Gold OA? Gold OA is, how do you publish, how do you support that, Gold OA publishing in open access journals? Now, there is something which is called publishing equity. There is a kind of library publishing coalition. You should go to that site and just see what this publishing equity says. You have to, on campus, you have to foster this publishing equity, where it says that the institution where the research resides, you have to, like open access movement, this, OA publishing equity movement will also be in vogue very shortly, because in rest of the world, in the developed world, this is already come into picture. I know of some South American campuses where this is actually working and kicking this concept is kicking, where they say that publishing equity, as we were talking about the article processing charges, where the institution bears some or of those publishing costs. Now, this is, you have heard about the compact on open access publishing equity. Those of you who are publishing in, peer-reviewed journals, you will see that when you get the article, they ask you to sign certain kind of certain protocols. One of them is the code. Another is the consent, that who is published what. That kind of consent you also to give. You have to also give the funding. You're acknowledging that consent you have to give. There are several consents which we were not used to till now. But now onwards, there are, those of you who are in the active publishing will know that COPE is very, very important, where they ask, the publisher asks, seek your consent on that. Now, growth in campus-based open access funds, you have to advocate for it. So in my own way, wherever I have worked, I have done not much, I have not got much success, but whatever little I have got is that it had made an impact. It had made a difference, definitely so. And you could go for the more details, you can go to Spark website at spark.arl.org/initiatives/funds, and you will know more about this publishing equity options. But this is very, very important, and librarians have a huge, huge role around the world. These are the librarians who have actually tried, made it possible on ground, and you too can participate in that. Now, the second is in the gold OA is provide publishing infrastructure, campus-based publishing. This has become very prevalent in many organizations around the world, in the developed countries, in the higher education institutions in India, and some research organizations, not so much in higher education institutions. Now, the Spark website gives a lot of this. There's a Library Publishing Coalition, which is librarypublishingcoalition.org. You can just see how they are, most of the good libraries in the world have come in a consortium mechanism and are providing publishing infrastructure, campus-based publishing infrastructure. They are truly actually this. So that is the role of libraries. Librarians to participate in that. Now, what is the role of librarians in green OA? Roles for librarians is, of course, we have been doing it in India. Number of organizations have come up with building robust institutional repositories, negotiate positive terms for licensed content, copyright advice to institutional authors, and link green to gold. This is very, very important. This, not many of the organizations in India have done linking of green OA to gold OA. Now, we have to ensure deposit of library funded articles to the institutional repositories. Now, beyond gold and green, what is the role of librarians is, when I say faculty websites, I say promote value-added features of institutional repositories, preservation, discovery matrix. Now, many of us, if you see that, some of us have added patches to our institutional repositories, which links to the individual websites of the faculty members or the researchers. And when you are looking at some of the papers of the faculty or the researcher, it also gives you that who has cited, who has collaborated with him, how many citations he has, how many references he has, and things like that. What is his time ago? What is his I-10 index, I-20 index, and all? You could bring those kind of value additions to the faculty websites. That is possible. Now, digitized collections is, we are doing, many of us are doing libraries, researchers, community-based, we are improving those collections and data sets. And I'm going to talk about this. Assistant developing data management plans. This is very, very important, curating contents. And I'm going to give you some examples of this. Librarians, we have shown the way, whether gold or green, but access open to all, okay? And beyond gold and green, we have gone beyond that also. For instance, I'll give you my own example. I talked about International Science Academy, that we started digitizing this collection of journals, and they are all XML. They have got the XML tags now. It's our journals from volume 1, issue 1, 1930s till date, and they are available in public domain. And they were created at a time when the OAI compliant protocol protocols were not in place, but we did what we could do at that time, depending on whatever technology was available. They are still running, and they are actually using now XML tags. They are in the XML as against the image PDF. Now, in ISI, Indian Statistical Institute, we did a lot of digitization while I was there at the institutional repository. And at one point of time, this ISI institutional repository was the heavily populated institutional repository with 17,000 papers. Then we did domain-based, we did individual-based, we did organizational-based repositories in ISI Calcutta, and they're still going on. So far as the curation is concerned, at IAPA, Intention of Public Administration, we did whatever material was out of copyright is available through, we partnered with the Million Book Project on the web with IIIT Allahabad, and we did terabytes of data are available in the digitized form, and some of them are very, very unique and very, very rare documents that are available in that. Now at IIC again, right now I'm doing the rare collection, and in this collection belongs to 1600s, 1700s, and it's called India collection. We have Bilgrami collection, we have Librarian collection, we have Himalayan collection and things like that. That is all being, we have already had a couple of terabytes of data digitized, and we're still going on. And this project is for 1 year. And of course, we are raising funds through corporate CSR funding, that is corporate social responsibility funding, and these projects are being funded. So we are doing this curation work, and many of the libraries in India are doing this, are involved in this curation work, and they're doing a pretty good job. Now, when I say the data, I talked about the data coming to the next role of librarians. So far as the data is concerned, we need to unlock the full potential of research data. Not many librarians in India are actually have focused too much on the data, which is very, very important, because why I am saying so, nowadays when the researchers publish the papers, and I have the living example of this, researchers publish the papers, they are in good journals, they are asked if it is an empirical and it's a research paper, they are asked to upload the data that they have collected as part of that research paper in the open data repository suggested by the publisher. Okay, and this data could be in any format. It could be in the Word file, it could be in the Excel file, it could be a PDF, whatever. They have to upload this data. Now I'm again telling you one that since we are general, public in the sense general library, of course our own membership comes to this library, and there are some other members, and I just came across one researcher who had met me, and he said that how do we do this, upload the data on along with this. I said why, and he showed me. He said that almost 3 months during the COVID, I wrote a paper and I submitted it to one of the journals, Emerald journals, and they asked me that this is fit for the open access journal, and you could have it hybrid also, but we are providing some funds for publishing right now during COVID, and your paper is very good. You have to upload the data, necessary data along with this paper for the public consumption. This researcher did not know what is data management plan, how do I upload the data, and he asked, because the libraries were also closed, and he asked one of the persons who was working in the library on her phone that, you tell me, ma'am, how do I upload the data? Probably the person didn't had information, she know-how of how he could manage this data. She said, I'll get back to you, and she never got back to her. With the result that he lost the opportunity of publishing in a good open access journal without paying for it. When he came to me, he said, how do I do this? Okay, for future, now that I have lost this opportunity, how do I do it for future? I said that you have to create this. And it was very simple. Of course, he didn't have to even create a data management plan. Of course, he had to know about it, but we don't actually groom our researchers towards that because some of us are not familiar ourselves with this. So there is this is very, very important that we have to actually graduate to that level, know how do we, support data management plans of the researchers in our given organizations when we are serving. Now, having said that, uh, you know, I just asked him that where is the data? You show me. So it was in the Excel file. I said, just when they say as upload the supplementary file, upload this file. That is it you have to do. And it was such a disastrous scene to see that he was so morose at that point. It was very simple intervention of a librarian would help to a great extent the researchers in our field. So, but the librarians have to actually have that know-how of how to support the researchers in the research management, data management plans. Now, you have to have a dependable solution that enables data to be stored, shared, and reused. And FAIR, many of you will know that this FAIR principles, it is actually being implemented throughout the world, and India is also ready to adopt this. What are those FAIR principles? This is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. I think that you have to go to the FAIR website and get groomed more, because we can't talk more on this. Now, when you have to make data discoverable using FAIR principles, your researchers will have a lot more opportunities to kind of see that data. Now, there are a lot of research challenges so far as research data management is concerned. You need to have collaborative endeavors. You have to make data discoverable, comprehensible, protect it, have the ownership of data, and make it interoperable. That is very, very important. But what is important here is that engagement is the way forward. Dr. Kadera, if I have time, then I can take them to data management also a little bit.
Yes,
if we have,
yes,
we have.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Just give me 1 minute. I'm actually going to. Okay. Okay. Are you able to see this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now this, this research data management for publishing is.
Are you showing some live demonstration that we are able to see your this screen PPT? Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. This is research data management is a new core for librarians. Now what is this research? The issues are you have to manage the data, you have to find the data, organize data, describe, store, share, and give rights and permission. Now there are a number of issues why we need this. If you said there is a technical data is not recorded properly, we have seen technological obsolescence creating huge havoc in libraries, and many of you will be familiar with the BBC's Doomsday. There are financial and administrative data not being maintained properly, data not retained in the institution, data not held in accordance with literature requirements, data not stored properly. There are a lot of issues that are connected with. Okay, now what you need to do is, what is the objective of this data management is that you need to protect research data against loss. You need to enable sharing of research data with others, and it is an important, it's a necessity in this research.
Ma'am, please readjust your mic.
Yeah?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. So this is a very, very important, because as I said that when you are publishing a paper in your researcher is publishing a paper in good research journal, peer-reviewed research journal, he or she would be mandated to upload the data that they have collected as part of this research. Second, if you are submitting a proposal to any funding agency, be it outside or be it in India, to good agencies, they will ask you what is your research data management plan. So you have to give, as part of that proposal, funding proposal, you have to give your researcher has to give a research data management plan. unless that is appended with the proposal, your proposal will be right away rejected. So this is the importance of the research data management proposal, to make research data discoverable, accessible, and reusable. Okay, you don't have to reinvent them. Earlier somebody has done research on the same subject that I am doing, but I'm actually recreating that data, and I'm wasting almost a year and a half on collecting or collating the data, screening that data, saving that data. But right now, that's the whole purpose. If that data is available, you can straight away use. Now, this also, data management also helps in data safety, security, and organization. Now, sharing of research data is very, very important, because you need to check and verify the data analysis so that reproducibility is possible and for future reuse. Now, when you do this data management plan, you create data catalogs and registries. As I said, some of the researchers may do just, if I'm collecting the data, you can put it in the Word files in an organized tabular form, or you can put it in the Excel sheets or things like that. Now, data creation and deposit is to be there. You should know that there are repositories where you can deposit, or you can deposit in the, if your campus is providing one. Manage active data and data repositories, or in data repositories and archives. Now, what is this data management plan? It's a formal document that outlines how you will handle your data, both during your research and after the project is completed. Now, what are the points that you have to keep track of, and you have to tell your researcher is what data will be created and what existing data will be used, the policies, what that will apply to your data, the data management practices, short and long term, storage, backup, security, access, and some of this I will show. IT facilities and equipment that is required, data ownership and access, defining responsibility for data and the plan, and data preservation for reuse and sharing of the data. Now, when you come to the organization of the data, you need to organize and structure data files, existing conventions, whatever is available. It should be consistent. You can use folders. This is at the preliminary name I'm talking to you. Structure folders hierarchically, good folder naming, current and completed work, and review what you have done. Now, metadata is important because researchers per se are not that conversant, and they are not that kind of keen to create a lot of metadata, because they are actually exclusively devoted to their own research. So you have to actually tell them what the metadata uses. Metadata is like, unless this is there, I think the whole purpose of data management is lost. So you have to make them understand this. You have to, you can have metadata like title, date, author, format, whatever, storage, subject, rights, access information. And version control is very, very important. Say, for instance, I have collected data, I do that, and I collect over 10 files of data, whatever, and then I'm saying I'm saving some version of it, and I don't need this part of the data. I'm creating another version, that is cleaning my data. Then I'm creating third version that is further cleaning my data. All those versions should be, hello.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah.
So actually, tomorrow we have a session in detail on research data management.
Yeah,
not only theoretical, but we will show them how to manage research data by using a fixed data repository or some other repository.
Yeah.
So because the topic is so vast, and I believe that let us have some kind of questions and some.
Yes.
So,
yes. Now, let me just complete this, and then we can have some questions. Now, what are the issues and challenges in India is that we fear that, some of us fear that in organizations fear that there will be loss of print subscriptions if journals become open access. That's not true. We have seen this, when 1999, when we said, okay, let us have this in open access, though they were not OA compliant, as I said repeatedly, but there will be loss. And I didn't have any model to show to the management that there won't be any loss or there will be loss. I said, we have this as an experiment. Somebody has to actually burn the fingers. So let me burn the fingers and let us see whether we will have loss or we will have gain out of it. But I'm sure that we will gain something out of it, because people who will think that it's available online, they would try to build their, hard copy files. So what happened in the second year of this making this INSA journals online, the subscription went up by 17.25%. So you could always quote this to your users. Now promoting OA journals will also require support towards APC. Somebody has to pay for it. Therefore, we have to actually advocate that the institution do the publishing equity kind of a thing. Many journals with digital equivalents are now only limited printing limited versions. IJPA, I know because I got it done. I made it online. Now IIPA is only publishing limited copies. Rest is available online because they are making a profit model. This is on a profit model basis. Now there are many low or no impact journals mushrooming. And I also talked about the predatory journals, so we need to be, those needs to be channelized, and it is the responsibility of the librarians also, besides others, to rope in this. Now, finally, I just wanted to share with my friends that we need to work towards a future where research is accessible, socially relevant, replicable, and reliable. We must adopt open science practices in our capacities and advocate for changes for a more equitable knowledge ecosystem. We have to promote and tell researchers about incentivizing mechanisms like publons, open science badges, data citations, and things like that. They are equally important for their research credits. And we must therefore promote data ecosystem, and collaboration is very, very important. Promote data ecosystem. We must realize, fair data principles, policies, standards, repositories, DMPs, and identifiers. And finally, there is one thing which I'm not going to discuss in detail, but I'll say that there is an initiative which is called the Research Fairness Initiative. This is very, very important. And there are three components of this. One is RFI reporting institution, those who report about this fairness initiative. Second are the partners, those who take part in this. And the third is the global research community. And I'm giving some things here. And with this, thank you. And if there are questions, I will be answering those questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Usha Madam, for enlightening us on this very important topic. And certainly, I'm sure that many of not only the participants, even we got clear out a lot of doubt related to open access publishing models. And you rightly address that kind of type of the publishing, especially in open access. So talking about green and open gold publishing model. But you rightly said that in India, especially, there is no such guideline related to APC, because many of institutions in the scholar community in the university system are really not supported by the institution because they have no such provision for paying that APC from departmental budget or the library budget. Though things are taking a lot of things are emerging, and probably soon it will be some kind of proper guideline. But what is your experience, so that you had served in a very different institutions and scientific institutions? So how do you say that? How do you find that this APC issues, especially in publishing? Because until us that you are not going to support your research community, and you are not going to encourage them, no one is going to publish the research in publishing model like in gold or that other one.
Yeah. Well, this is a very important question, and it's very close to my heart, because I know that, as I said, that one of the researchers, he could not publish his very good piece of research because of the article processing charges, and it was $1,000, and he couldn't afford that. Now, the thing is that, as I said, that if India would have adapted Plan S by beginning of 2021, we would have, had a corpus of this APC charges for the institutions to support. And of course, though that corpus will only support those where the research is of a high quality, and that makes sense. I'm not against that, because we should not foster, low or middle level research. It should be high quality research, and that would have supported the high quality research as well. But at the same time, I still don't understand that when we have given in 2006, we worked out, it's almost now 14 years. have passed, we have given that there should be a corpus funding, and at that time, Government of India had, we said 1,000 crores for this, so that the good research could be supported through this corpus funding, the interest of this corpus funding, and we could replenish this. But that did not happen. But what I'm hopeful is, as I said, that many publishers during this COVID pandemic, this thing issues, have supported researchers by waiving off there. My own son has been waived off 79% of the APC charges, right? It was $700, and I think he 79 or 89%, he paid just 6,000, which is manageable as against 40-50,000, which is manageable. So he could publish us, and many publishers have waived this. But that is one. Second is from the publisher side. If you remember, I just talked about the transformative journal publishing. Okay, so that is also based on it's a kind of a there's an equal and opposite reaction to every action. So this plan, as this transformative journal publishing, is a reaction to the plan. Therefore, publishers also have to say that we are in sync with the scholarly publishing community, otherwise they cannot sustain. So if these initiatives are fostered, they are promoted, and there is equal you can say that interest or equal actions from the government side also, or from the scholarly fraternity side also, I think sooner than later we're going to have some sort of ease for the scholars or researcher community to foster. There may be a fund, like they have got contingencies. There may be a fund per year they can publish one paper, and this amount is for that. There could be, and I foresee that.
Thank you, madam. You rightly said there is some institution, but very rare institution,
Yes.
like an IITs or some IISER. They had they are offering to their faculty members like a CPDA, Cumulative Professional Development Allowance.
Yeah.
Probably those kind of faculty probably can they can manage the APC. But again, my because a part of this government institution, there is a self-funding institutions. And probably they hardly have to have a kind of separate and that kind of budget provision in their budget system. And even many of institutions, they have not any even though defined budget for the library. So I don't know how they are going to allocate the specific fund for that activity like an APC. And another question in mind related to open, and this new model is emerged like a read and publishing model. Again, would you like to say anything about this read and publishing model?
Read and publishing model. Yeah. See, these are actually derivatives of something, like we say in Creative Commons, you create derivatives. But read and publishing, I don't think, because you are in, the ethics says that you have to have some sort of, you are borrowing the idea and building on that idea. Read and publishing, if you just see these models today, I don't know how, when they emerge as a full-blown models, how they would be, kind of taken on board. But right now, I think most of it, when we say that you can use without the code, so much can be used. And I think most of that read and publish models are more of a reproduction with little attribution. Of course, attribution in the sense that the acknowledgement is given. But I don't think that I would prefer to have more research-oriented models than just the read and publish model.
Thank you, ma'am. You rightly spoke about this plan S, and this is I don't know how that plan S is, it has an impact and effect on that Indian, scholar community. Yeah. But what you rightly said that whatever research is funded, whether it's funded by international funding agency or that funded by UGC or Indian any other funding agency, and how that mandate putting this research output of those particular funding research should be available in public domain also, because there is no as such clear guideline for that funding from funding institution. Just certainly they had a kind of advisory what you spoke about putting the research data in public domain and all. But would you like to say something more in detail about this guideline and from the funding agencies?
Yeah, no. Funding, most of the funding, good funding agents who fund the research in a major way in India, they have come out with OA mandates, and they have also come out with the policies starting from CSIR, DBT, DSIR, and things like that. And the government of India has also come out with a policy. What is important is that what I said was that if Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India had announced in February 2019 that we are going to adopt Plan S, and I was very hopeful that if we adopt this Plan of S, and we got that government stamp that we are adapting this, most of the research organizations, of course, government for sure, but even the privately funded institutions will fall in line. They will also use the same track, because they also have to be part of that they will come in the ranking if you are following this. And I was very hopeful that if this happens, then APC would be taken care of, because it says that the institution has to also bear the charges for the good research, and also the publishing equity, if not complete APC, but publishing equity could have been factored in a major way in these research institutions, therefore facilitating researchers to do their research and while getting funded by the organization. But since that has been dropped, Plan S has been dropped by, the scientific advisor himself said, we are not adopting this. I don't know for what reasons, I'm not sure at all why we have not. And now we have come to know there is, one nation, one subscription and things like that. How will that be possible if we are not doing this? That is fine. That's another offshoot of this. Of course, that's not directly related, but yet it has got some relation with this also. Policies are there, but what is happening is that we don't have coherence in implementing this policy. Correct. That is lacking, and I think we have to have adopt and carrot and a stick parameter to set the ball rolling forever in a more systematic and in a more proactive way.
Yeah, thank you very much. You rightly said that just framing a policy is not good enough, because until that policy is being implemented effectively, efficiently, that is the main concern. Another, because what I observed, madam, this talking about guideline from funding agencies. There is a guideline from funding agency, but even though thereafter, even though faculty or the research scholar, they are more interested in publishing the research in commercial journals, because they majority of them, they are not really aware about this publishing model. Number one thing, you rightly said, there is a great role of librarians to create any kind of awareness about these publishing models. Second thing is that they feel that the commercial journal are more impactful, and they just always think about to publish the research in journal like an Index in Scopus or Web of Science or so. But this is how to change this mindset of the scholar community.
No, this is where the role of librarians, active and more vibrant role of librarians, come into picture. I don't actually agree that when researchers think, it is their perception, because this is imbibed, in their cognitive models, that the we will publish in commercial journals. These are still commercial journals, but they are hybrid models. For instance, I know recently we published paper in Elsevier, which in a journal, which is a commercial journal, but it's got a hybrid model. And because we had to show these results, and we said we will opt for open access version of this, and eventually it could go to, and we paid money for publishing in open access, because somebody has to pay the money, so we paid money for that. So the researchers thinking that we'll pay the commercial, even OA is a commercial. It's only the format of the model. It's a different model, but it's promoted, published, powered, and monitored by the commercial wing, of a commercial publishing house. So if Elsevier, say for instance, if Emerald is publishing journals, they have hybrid models, both online, both open access and otherwise. So it is online first, and then it goes to the print version. So there's nothing like that commercial not being commercial. or the journal, the same journal has a hybrid model. So where does the question of not being indexed in Scopus or ABDC or ABS or things like that, whatever journals you talk about. So there's nothing, and it is the perception of the researcher which is ingrained in their cognitive models, and it's the role of the librarian to tell them, to guide them, to give this know-how to them, that there's nothing like that.
Actually, I intentionally raised this question. There is so many confusion among the librarian and the scholar community that I just to emphasize on that. But you rightly said, in the same way, same path, same line. There is a predatory publishers, predatory journals. They create a kind of confusion between like an open gold publishing and the predatory journal. They used to take money, and they used to get published their research very quickly without review and without looking at the quality and other factors. That's why the faculty who's in good enough understanding of the research and research publishing, they know well. But young buddies who's entering and entering in that research world, they are really making difference between that gold publishing and the predatory journals, because both the publishers are charging.
Yes,
and
yes.
Again,
Please go ahead. Yeah, so, please go ahead.
Again, I found a great role of libraries just to make sure that what exactly is a predatory journal, just to tell the faculty concerned what is the predatory journal, how to identify predatory journals, and that how.
That's also.
Yes, please.
See, for instance, not now, but 2-3 years ago, I used to get every second day, I used to get a mail, please submit a paper to this. It will be predatory journals. How do you identify? You are getting these mails, and I was wondering that why is it happening that I'm every day getting a mail to submit an article to this. Then I went deep into, and then we had a meeting in Bangalore of the professionals as well as the publishers and researchers, leading researchers of the country, and we just discussed about it. It was 4 or 5 years ago when then the issue of the predatory journals have come up, and as I said, DOAJ dropped almost 700 journals from India which were predatory. It was like Nukkad journal. And I will give you a couple of examples. I will not name the institution because then it is a breach of trust actually. I was in this, it's a very good university, national university in the country. And the Vice Chancellor also invited me. And they said that we are actually in the API scoring. So all our faculties publishing so many papers and all, and we are unable to. I just looked at it. There was a journal, Pitampura, published from Pitampura, International Journal of something. I will not name the journal. So there were so many articles from there. So I asked the Vice Chancellor, whom I knew very closely because he was also INSA fellow, and I said that first you just decipher where this journal, who is the publisher of the journal. And the name of the journal was resembling another very important international journal, which we would feel proud of to be associated with. There is a small, it was like, that wool mark, and somebody used that logo wool mark by turning those lines, upside down and changing the color.
That is also known as clone journals, because they have a kind of almost similar name.
Similar type. This is one of the parameters of predatory journals. And, there will be online, and sometimes they will ask you a fee. Not many times, not sometimes, all the times they will ask you a fee for publishing, and they will publish. And they don't believe in peer review, nothing of that. But they are predatory journals. So this journal, international journal, was resembling something of a very high-reviewed, highly peer-reviewed, stringently peer-reviewed journal. And people will feel very proud of it. And when you look at the name, you'll say, "Acha, isme published kiya hai?" And then they found that it was from Pitampura, one corner, Nukkad corner. 3 boys have joined together and published this journal, and this was online because they knew they could play with the technology. There was online, they have used OJS to print it, but on the top, when you submit the paper, the OJS will not come to the top because they have actually customized the screen, first send screen. So these predatory journals are nothing, they are fake journals. Don't say predatory, say fake journals, and you should avoid publishing.
Yeah, thank you very much. Dr. Harsing, is there any question from the audience, or I had
Yeah,
one
it
or two
is,
more
you know,
questions?
there is one person who says, is it possible for the state government-based libraries have options for receiving funds from, apart from RRLF? Needs a little bit glimpse. State libraries, you know, every state, you know, some states in India have, you know, the library policies also, Kerala and all. Now, it is not RRLF is not the only funding body. They should also, and some states in India have the minister for libraries, you know, and people should know, if you are from a given state, you should know that whether you have a some sort of a department and all. But it is not, RRF will not fund everyone. You know, they also have limitations on funds. Apart from this, you have to generate funds. So for instance, I am doing sting here in this library. Of course, in INSA also, I generated around 1 crore of rupees for the projects. ISI, we got a lot of funds from outside, but IAC, India International Center, also, for all my several projects, we have generated corporate social responsibility. What I'm saying is that my own professionals need to get into that kind of, I know everybody doesn't get an opportunity like that, but you have to seek that opportunity. You have to have a seeking spirit to have that opportunity. Of course, we are there to help you, to guide you how you can do that. And you know, you have to jump into this because funds are very limited. I would not have been able to do that, you know, couple of projects here if funds were not there available to me. So we could seek funds from our external under CSR funding, and it's not government who is funding us, it's the private organization who are funding us. So you have to actually find out the mechanisms. Funds are very limited, otherwise your normal activities will not get rolled out. So you have to have, you know, association with it. It's not only the government that will fund you. You have to seek the private funding also and show them. And I think that, you know, number of organizations are supporting that way. I must say that if you approach, I don't know what your the character and flavor of your library is, but there are some libraries who have approached Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they have got some funds, you know. So there are funds for libraries around the world, and they might also, if you write a good proposal, they would also be more than happy to support you in your endeavors.
Thank you, madam. Dr. Harsing, next question.
Yes, sir. Beside the question answered by ma'am, there are 4 more questions related to open access.
Yeah.
So the first question is that one of the participant was asking, I found that most of the libraries have IR, but OAI-PMH is not enabled. Will you please share your experience?
Yeah. See, as I said, I said there are 96 repositories listed in Directory of Open Access Repositories. It's not that just that 96 repositories in the country are there. There are more repositories, you know, that have been generated. I'll tell you what, you have to register with DOOR, right? And for that, you have to be OAI compliant. Right, OAI PMH compliant. What is that OAI PMH is? Protocol for Metadata, Open Archive Initiative, Protocol for Metadata Harvesting. You have to be OAI compliant. Say we have actually taken a handle from CNRI. It takes 6 months to 1 year. You know, when I was in ISI, where we had a lot of technical support available, it took us almost 1 year to get that CNRI handle registered, because initially they were giving free and then they were charging $50. But after that, when you are registering these repositories, they need to validate it. You know, where you certify that your repositories as per the OIPMH protocol. It takes 1 year. And what is happening is many of the libraries in the country, they don't have adequate technical support. They create this out of their own self-propelling nature and professional zeal, but they are not able to sustain that activity. And when they have to reach out for this, compliance, making this OMPM compliant. It takes some time, and the activity fizzles, or the person leaves, somebody else comes, and then he takes over. That is the basic reason. You have to be a fighter to sustain such activities.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question is how to protect our research papers when we are submitting our papers to publish.
Yeah. No, what is there to protect when you are submitting? See, for instance, there is many young budding researchers have this, that if I'm submitting to any journal, see, for instance, if you are submitting to a good journal, I don't think they share it with anyone else. They might reject it, and then it comes back to you, share with somebody else. But parallelly, you should not share with more than one publisher at a given point of time. And there's nothing, no. Sometimes it happens. I have known of instances where the person whom it was sent, the paper was sent for review, he has borrowed the idea and generated, before this paper got published, he had generated a paper because he was, technically sound to generate one, because he got the idea. That happens, but I think that those cases are very few and far.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. The next question is, what are the open data repositories where we can save our research data?
Yeah, see, there are number of open data repositories. If you go to CoData site, or you go to ODI sites or DDI sites, you will find a number of repositories. In India also there are a number. ICSSR has got one open data repository where socio-economic data can be stored. They will be more than happy to do that. Now we have got astronomy and astrophysics data is there, biological data is there, but some of these repositories are not for in the public. The repository that is being created under the Grand Challenges program of Government of India with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Most of the researchers being done by the biotechnology and microbiology scientists are being deposited there as the data repositories. But you will see, I can give you a list of maybe 50 or more repositories where you can upload. But at the same time, when you are submitting a paper, the publishers also tell you where to upload.
Ma'am, tomorrow we have a session, and practically we will be demonstrating one of the example of Figshare or other repository, how to upload and data lively and
what they were asking, the Figshare is how to upload. It tells you know-how about how to upload, but they were asking the data repositories.
Yeah, there are a number of data repositories.
Also, yes, So they were.
Dr. Harsing, take one or two more questions, then I will wind up.
Yeah, so it's the last question. One participant asked, in present scenario, what is the role of librarians in RDM?
In present scenario, I think librarians, if I have to give the percentage, 65 to 70% belongs to the librarian. Why? Because it's the library that is a public and social institution where researchers will come freely and ask you. I ask you that this researcher, young budding researcher, had lost publishing a paper in a very good journal because his librarian could not, because on phone, of course, it was because of COVID, the institution was closed. She could not guide him rightly that what is this, that uploading data. When he came after he lost the chance, because he would have got his paper freely for free published in the open access journal of one of the leading publishers. When he came to me, I said, just where is your data? He showed me the Excel file. I said, just as a supplement file along with your paper, you should have uploaded, because they asked for the supplement file. He said, is this all? I said, yes, this is all. But what is data management plan is, as I said, it talks you that what kind of data you want to store, whether long range or short range, what kind of infrastructure, what for you need, how you will version this. I think tomorrow you have on RDM data management session, you will know this, but these are the basic, that what is the data, what format you will save, for how long you will say it's a short time or long duration, and what are you going to use it for, how you will control the versions of this data, is all that you would need, and it could be any format. It could be Word, it could be PDF, it could be XML, it could be Excel file, or it could be a standard robust database format that you could store.
Sir, that's all from the questions point of view. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Harsing, for helping for this session. Ma'am, thank you very much for your kind, presence. You enlighten us on this very important topic, and I'm sure that all the. Sriram would like to say anything.
Yeah. So you just acknowledge, madam, and Dr. Harsing formally present.
Yeah, no. I'm just thank you. So, ma'am, I'm sure that all the participants of this workshop, and even not only this workshop, but this program is live on the Facebook. Many more people, attending apart from this Zoom window. And you made a lot of clearance related to publishing model, especially open access and all. Because many of budding librarian, even though they are not aware of the difference between the green and gold publishing. And how that you rightly said that how librarian can help scholar community to get published the research in gold or green publishing, and a part of that how this repository, open access repository is emerging, especially for the that your preprint publishing and all. That is people who's not really aware about, not really need of any kind of ISSN number, or that not worried about that kind of indexing Scopus and Web Science. But in case that publication is available in public domain, in any of general repository, that will give an equal impact of the research.
Absolutely. This I have given you an example of one of the researchers. I mean, he has published in Sage Journal, which is now open access also. He's got 438 views and downloads till yesterday. So this is 1 year getting that many downloads is something extraordinary. Yeah, visibility increases, and there is no compromise on peer review. Yeah, quality. Yeah.
And you also rightly raised that all metrics matter, because a number of scholar community, they look at what are the my
citation
and what is the citation, what are getting.
Yeah.
But who will be better than Sriram, who's an Almatic ambassador, who's creating a lot of awareness about the Almatics and all. So he's showing the lively how that Almatics is making impact of the research in scholar community. Thank you very much, and you again rightly guided us, especially as a librarian, how library can play an important role in not only the publishing, but again talking about research data. Tomorrow I'll be speaking on the research data. What is the research data? What type of the research data? Why research data is required, and how library can play an important role, in managing that research data. And I'll be taking some live session on the Fixer or some other repository, just to show them how what a kind of type of the research data, how the research data can be uploaded, what kind of even what kind of metadata is over there, and kind of license is applicable to research data, and how research data can make an equal impact kind of citation. And because those kind of repositories giving an DOI to each piece of the research data.
Absolutely. Data citations are as important as the citations to your paper. And if the data citation, somebody, we were discussing in CoData, where I'm also one of the members of the data policy committee, says, we discussed that how is this impacting the international community, international research community. So one of the members were telling me that their own researchers who are actually being cited, whose data is being cited, they're getting more weightage in their career development. So that's a very, very positive.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Actually, as a librarian, I'm also part of that, teaching at research community, research scholar at my university, and I'm happy to report you that each and every research scholar have their account on Fixer.
Very wonderful.
When they're going to start the research, I'm just telling them what kind of raw data they're going to generate, and that how that can be preserved for the long term.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Of you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and probably we have touched all the points of what you have discussed, and thank you very much for your kind presence and accepting our invitation. Such a short notice. You are always motivating us, supporting us, or guiding us. Thank you very much. You are a source of inspiration. What I said again. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Over to organizer Sriram and his team.
Dr. Harsing is formally going to propose a vote of thanks for everyone.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Sanjay, sir. On behalf of the program organizing committee and my own behalf, I, Dr. Harsing, would like to thank our chief guest speaker, Dr. Usha Munshi ma'am, for her valuable time and gracing the occasion with an insightful thought on open access publishing and role of librarians. I'm sure that the content shall be useful to all of us. I would like to thank Dr. Sanjay Kataria sir for his time to chair and moderate the session tactfully and conduct the session smoothly. I would like to thank all the participants for patient hearing. Thank you all. Thanks all of. Over to you, sir.
So thank you everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. Thank you, madam, for
Thank
your
you. Thank
valuable
you.
time. So next session will be announcement for the next session. It will be going to start at 2:30, and Dr. Suresh Jange from Gulbarga University, Karnataka, he is going to take a session on library license program and its role in research support services. So please join us again at 2:20. Then we'll have a session for Dr. Suresh Jange. So thank you once again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks.